Okay, thank you for your patience. I had some technical issues, but we're all set now. I want to welcome everyone to this evening's meeting. This is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not to be considered a public community meeting. It is the April 24th regular board meeting, and there will be, excuse me, a time for public participation during the meeting as indicated on the agenda. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Chambers, when you're ready, if you'll call roll, please.
Mr. Nichols?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Mr. West?
Here.
Ms. Pritchard?
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve our regular meeting minutes for March 20th, the special meeting on April 3rd, and the work session on April 11th.
I'll second.
All those minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Are there any questions, comments, or changes to be made to said minutes? Hearing none, Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additions, removals, or modifications to be made to the consent agenda this evening?
No, but I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sable, you're up.
I'd like to start by welcoming Heritage Elementary School up to the front. I see that Mr. Stacco, our Heritage principal, is here with us this evening, as well as several of our staff members and students. Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks for this opportunity. As Mr. Sable said, I'm Glenn Stacco, the principal at Heritage, and I brought some of our teachers and students here tonight to share some of the great things happening at Heritage.
Hello, my name is Kayla Rodriguez, and I am a fourth grade teacher at Heritage Elementary, as well as the K-Kids advisor. The students I have here with me today are K-Kid members. I have not only had the opportunity to watch them grow academically, but also soar as leaders at Heritage. K-Kids is a group of 4th and 5th grade members. This is a service-oriented group that they will be able to continue in middle school, in high school, and in our Medina community with the Kiwanis organization. These students would like to share their experiences and solutions to an area of growth our PBIS team discovered and as a necessity for our primary level students to find success at Heritage. I would first like to invite my teacher friend, Mrs. Moyler, up to speak about her experience in 2nd grade.
Hello. I'm here to tell you why it was decided to begin having K-Kids teach lessons to our primary students and sort of how it has affected them. Even though our classrooms hold morning meetings where the 3 R's, respectful, responsible, and ready to learn, are taught and reinforced, our youngest students continue to struggle a bit with behaviors that demonstrate those 3 R's. So our young students love the older students, and they look up to them. So it was decided that having the older students come in to teach lessons to our younger students about once a month would be a great way to reinforce these positive behaviors. My students look forward to our morning meeting guests. They hang on every word and actively participate in the activities, discussions, and lessons. As a teacher, it provides our class with a common experience that I can refer back to. I can say things like, remember when Bennett shared his experience? You can use the strategy Bennett used to help you in this situation. The added bonus for me is that I get to build relationships with the older students that I wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity to know. So the good part's coming. I'd like to introduce Bryn, who's going to share her experience.
Hello, my name is Brenda Sabo. I am a 5th grader at Heritage Elementary, and I'm also a K-Kids member. As a part of the teacher leader community, I have enjoyed seeing all the kids learning and teaching them also. The lesson I would like to share with you is about the personal space. The goal of this lesson was to have the kids learn how to keep their hands and feet to themselves and not be touching other people. During this lesson, we talked about how it was important to use your hands and feet to keep them to yourself. The thing I will remember most about this experience is how well this lesson went and how much fun the kids had. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elena Hughes, and I'm a 4th grader at Heritage Elementary, and I'm also a teacher leader. As part of the teacher leader committee, I've enjoyed helping the kids learn to communicate and have conversations. The lesson I want to share with you today is the lesson about finding a balance between talking and listening. The goal of this lesson was to help build friendships, bonds, and relationships with communication. I think learning these skills are important because having conversations help us to learn and grow in school with friends and can someday help us to get a job. These skills are not only important for kids, but adults to learn too.
No, that was just our presentation on K-Kids, so I'm going to hand it over to my friend, Mrs. Pantoja.
Okay, I'm Heather Pantoja, and I teach kindergarten at Heritage, and I'm going to share my experience with technology in the kindergarten class, specifically stop motion. I don't know if you're familiar with stop motion, but it's where the kiddos place an object, they take a picture, and it makes like a little movie. So so we use stop motion to tie into writing. So I'll go through that. Actually, I was trying to find a way to introduce technology into the kindergarten classroom in an appropriate way. So they're not just like playing games or something, but more that addresses the, those things, what are they? Portrait of a bee, and just like doing higher level thinking. So our exploration began with the book The Hat. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but in the book, Hedgehog got a sock stuck on his head, and at the end he said animals should definitely never wear clothes. And of course, because it's kindergarten, that created a whole big debate and stories about what clothes their animals wear. And going off of their lead and their interest, we started reading other books. And so then we did persuasive writing about whether or not you should think animals should or shouldn't wear clothes. And they started talking about like having a fashion show. And in the beginning of, well, we had read Jan Brett the Hat, Julia Gall came into my classroom, and we were practicing retells with the mitten. And so she did a stop motion of the animals going into the mitten, showing the kiddos how to use stop motion that way. So this discussion came up about a fashion show, and I'm like, wait, maybe we could do a fashion show using stop motion. And so here is our process. We first made plans. Oh, they all brought in a stuffed animal. We took a picture of it. They made plans on paper. And then they wrote how they were going to make their clothing, which I really didn't know how this was going to work, but they did awesome. So we wrote how-tos on how to make the clothing. And then here they are, making their clothing. And then here are their stop motion videos. So it was a fashion show. Let's see, here's another one. And they did this all on their own. I am so not tech savvy at all. Miss Gall showed them how to do it, and they just can never underestimate what the kindergartners can do. And so then to take it further during our discovery or purposeful play time, I incorporated felt boards, and this just helped them connect their oral language to writing. So the stop motion videos they made, and then they talked about it, and then they put it into a story with a beginning, middle, and end. So here's another one. And they did it all on their own. So it connected, we were able to connect writing, and their writing stories were just so more elaborate and detailed, having, looking at the video and then writing about it. I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. And I wanted to share a little bit about Camp New Hop that Heritage just recently got to experience. The Portrait of a Bee competencies were fully embedded in the camp program that we experienced. Just a couple of pictures here. They learned about solar energy and circuitry. The top center picture is just a teamwork thing about getting their brains going. The picture on the right is a student using cycle power to provide power for a lamp. The top left is survival skills. They did some teamwork things and learned how to build shelter and how to build fire. The bottom left is a picture of some teamwork activity where they had to all communicate and figure out how to get the skis to move as a unit. In the middle there, they're all 14 of those kids had to stand on a 3x3 plank of wood with 1 foot, so they had to figure out how to balance and how to work together to do so. The other picture is about air pressure. They made balloons out of tissue paper, and they experienced the difference between high and low pressure and why things float and why things sink. There you can see one of the shelters that one of the groups made. The center picture there, they were learning again some survival skills with using a compass and how to, they kind of went on a treasure hunt and had to find different things using directions and paces. The bottom right there, one of the lessons was finding beauty in nature or art in nature. So they all had time to use things they found on the ground and create art. And then there's just a picture of the whole group right before they went in for dinner on the end of the day. So we lucked out. We had a beautiful 70-some degree day when we went, so we were very fortunate. But as I reflected on the activities that they went through and I looked at the Portrait of a Bee competencies, all of those were in there. They were expected to be respectful citizens throughout the process. They had to make some decisions as a group and as an individual in the things they were going to choose to do. They certainly had to collaborate a lot on that day. Communication was key. They had to be able to speak with each other clearly and get their point across, and they had different opinions that they had to work through. Thinking and learning for sure as an innovative problem solver when they're talking about building shelter and surviving. Should they get lost, they had to really think about what were the things that needed to be taken care of first. And finally, that lifelong learner, just knowing that there's more outside the classroom than just the things that they deal with every day. So that's our little bit of an overview of some of the things happening at Heritage. We would talk forever if we talked about all the great things happening. So thanks for that opportunity.
Well, thank you all for coming, and our students, you did a great job speaking and sharing, teaching those lessons to the second graders. We appreciate you volunteering your time as a member of K Club or K Kids, but also coming here tonight to speak with all of us. So thank you so much.
And you are all welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but if I were you, I might sneak out the back door. Yeah, excellent job tonight. Great things happening in our buildings, and it's nice to see the incorporation of our Portrait of the Bee. So thank you to our students and our staff and our parents. Next up, I wanted to provide the board and the community with an update on our facilities projects. First up is redistricting. I just wanted to remind everybody that the board did approve the redistricting plan to be implemented the 2024-25 school year. So we are looking at only a year out for implementation. We are continuing the planning process in order for the redistricting to occur. We are in the process of putting together a timeline of events. That timeline of events is going to have everything that is going to be occurring over the course of the next year, with activities likely beginning as early as this summer with the redistricting process. That timeline is going to include several different avenues of activities. Things such as building level activities, such as celebrations of Heritage and Garfield, with the adjustments that are happening at those buildings, all the way to when staffing changes will begin, decisions with those changes, to even adjustments to some of the facilities such as Heritage to be able to house the preschool programming. So it'll be quite an extensive timeline. But we do feel like it's important to get that information out to our staff and our community so that there is an understanding of what's up and coming. I think that can help bring a level of comfort as well. Our goal is to release that timeline prior to the end of the school year so that when everybody leaves for the summer, which is unbelievably like 3 to 4 weeks away, that they know what's up and coming heading into the next school year. Also want to bring back up our discussion from the work session that we just held approximately 2 weeks ago, and the direction that we recommended administratively from the Administrative Facilities Committee. We are looking at doing an actual formal presentation following that discussion at our May regular meeting, which is coming up in approximately 3 weeks. That formal presentation will include more detailed information in regards to potential facilities, as well as costs for those facilities, timelines, and things like that. So we intend to actually have more materials as well as diagrams and pictures to present to the board as well as to the community at that May meeting so that moving forward we can make sure that people can make a more informed decision with more detailed information. I did want to reiterate what we had discussed at the work session, not only for the board's sake, but for the community's sake as well. We did share with the board that we recommended moving forward with a phased plan for the facilities plan. This is based off of the feedback that we received from the community through all of the community roundtable sessions, presentations, as well as the Kids First survey. We found through the survey that there seemed to be quite a bit of support for all of the facilities projects that we presented. However, there was over and over concern expressed regarding the amount of projects that were being presented and the potential overall cost of that sum of projects, and many comments about do these things all need to be done at once? Is there a way to spread these out? So we are recommending an avenue to spread these out, the projects themselves as well as the costs of the projects. In terms of the survey, the top plan of importance seem to be the yellow plan, which we originally started discussing some time ago when we were exploring the green plan, the yellow plan, and the gray plan. When we were looking at the general potential directions for the district to go with facilities, long-term facilities. The yellow plan is the 5, 6, and 7, 8 buildings. In order to have the greatest amount of impact in terms of upgrade of facilities, as well as the redistricting needs, phase 2 of the redistricting needs, and that's transitioning 5th grade out of the elementary buildings. We administratively feel it's most important to move forward with that yellow plan, and phase 1 would include building of a new Claggett as well as an expansion of Root. That would allow us to then transition the preschool program, which we do need a building for, over to Heritage with some minor modifications to accommodate the special ed preschool program, as well as making some modifications to Garfield in order to house the Board of Education. In addition, with that phase 1 plan would be replacement of the football stands, the home stands. It would not be the more extensive plan, which included adding a weight room and concession stands underneath it. It would be simply replacing the stands and transitioning the home side, the visitor side, to the home side, which it originally was. But doing it in a fashion which would allow for future expansion underneath there if the community supported that at a later time. Phase 2 would then be the more extensive projects, the building of a new preschool and the building of a new elementary school, expansion of athletic facilities, and the area underneath the stands with the weight room. And the timeline for that to occur would be to be determined because it would be based off of the construction completion of phase 1, and it would also be dependent on the passage of a second bond issue in order for phase 2 to be able to occur. In terms of costs, we did get into general costs at the work session, and I do caution that these are estimated general costs, and we are still working through these figures because even what I'm going to share today with the board has changed and updated since the work session due to inflation. The estimates that we were working with at the work session were from 2022, and the architects, as early as just this morning, were able to pull 2023 projections, which has had an impact on the projections that we had recently shared. In terms of a bond issue to complete phase 1, we're looking at a bond issue of approximately 2.7 mils. I think what we had shared at the work session was somewhere around 2.4, 2.5. So it's a bit of an increase due to inflation. This would feel like approximately a 0.5 mil to the actual wallet of our residents, and that's because of 2 bond issues that are falling off, are being paid off, and those 2 are for the high school as well as for Blake. So the actual fuel cost to residents is approximately $17 per year per $100,000. We also discussed the need for an operating levy, which we're also recommending to be tied to the bond issue in November. This operating levy would be approximately 6.5 mils. This would be feel to the residents out of pocket about $225 per year per $100,000, which is about $18.75 per month. The important thing to note with the operating levy is that the longer we wait to put it on the ballot, the more that the millage is going to go up. So each year, that millage would go up. I think if we waited till the next cycle to put it on, it would go all the way up to an 8-something, and it would continue to go up each cycle. Obviously, operating costs are extremely important. That's what we use to educate our students. The bond in the facilities is where we educate our students. So those funds are extremely important to us. We will be coming to the board once we have further discussions in May with the formal presentation in June to present to the board to actually put an issue on the ballot for November to represent a potential bond as well as an operating issue. And I wasn't going to get too far into this today, but I just wanted to mention with House Bill 1, there recently was some movement and change with legislation, which is good news because that was favorable for the schools in terms of the concerns that we had with how the changes in taxes could affect what the school was receiving during tax collection.
So just to make sure I understand, and I know these are estimates, but it sounds like for approximately $22 extra per month, we would have a operating levy, which we haven't asked for an increase for in over 10 years, and a new middle school for Claggett, fields, stands, all of that bond stuff at the cost of approximately $22 a month per $100,000.
Yeah, but I have to reiterate that those are rough costs, and come May, we'll have better figures
Right.
for you as we work with the architectural firm through those numbers.
I understand. Thank you. Do we have, if we were to include the Phase 2 piece of it, do we have any idea how much additional money it would cost if we wanted to just, instead of breaking into phases, just do one?
We haven't calculated those numbers at this time, but we can include that in the May presentation for the board's information and discussion.
Thank you. I think that would be helpful, and I know from the results of our survey, a lot of people are concerned about costs, and I think it's very helpful to be able to put that dollar amount with what we'll actually be getting for our money if it were to pass. So thank you for that. I am looking forward to that presentation.
I have one question. In the yellow plan, does that include fixing the root stadium for soccer, putting turf down and all that?
Yeah, the yellow plan itself does not include that, but we have included that or discussed including that with the Phase 1.
Thank you.
And then the last piece I wanted to share in terms of facilities is we are going to be starting to do a regular news release on facilities as well as redistricting updates. It's going to be mainly geared around the facilities piece, though, and we're calling it the Facilities Flash. And it's going to be very similar to the communications that Mrs. Busby has put out about just district-wide communications, her short little blurbs with links and short newsletters, because we're making every effort to try and make sure that the staff and community is informed with what's happening. And the first edition is actually coming out the end of this week, and that information is going to be coming through our administrative team collectively in terms of what comes through.
Thank you. Mr. Siebel, I just wanted to add one more thing. It's exciting to finally be making some progress towards this, just because at the work session I mentioned, we've been talking about this since 2019. We had community meetings to talk about whether the community would support the 5, 6, 7, 8 buildings, and they were right on board with that. So that then moved into our different plans, which is then the yellow plan that the board accepted. So it is important if we want to see that happen, but we need to have the funds to finish making that happen, to get it over the finish line. So it's exciting to be making some progress towards that, and I look forward to the continued communications and getting things out to the community and hearing their feedback. Thank you.
And the last thing I have for my communications is with our upcoming June board meeting. I am recommending we change the date of our scheduled June board meeting. It is currently scheduled on the date of Juneteenth. So in the past, we've bumped those up or bumped dates forward a full week if we made an adjustment. The other option is to just bump it to Tuesday. But I thought this would be a good time to see availability of the board. I know that's heading into the summer vacation season as well, which I know can be more difficult with scheduling.
I'm good. The whole month.
The whole month? I would recommend either the 20th, the day after, or the following Monday, the 26th, depending on everyone's availability.
I could do either.
I'd say for me, the 26th or the week before would be better. But
I think the 26th is probably good. It also feels weird to have a board meeting on Tuesday. I don't like it. We can't do that.
26th, okay?
Let's plan on the 26th.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're up, Mr. Chambers.
Good evening. I'll be trying to read this. It's going to be hard. The district bank balance decreased by $1.3 million in March to $74 million. This is $3.1 million below last year at this time. 5-year forecasted revenues were above last March by $1.3 million. Public utility, restricted aid, and other revenue account for this increase. 5-year forecasted expenditures were also above last March by $2.4 million. All expenditure categories except for purchase services and capital outlay account for this increase. The sales tax fund balance decreased by I keep saying by. The sales tax fund balance decreased to $3 million. The district spent approximately $84,000 in March with expenditures on elevator repair at the high school and fleet master lease agreement. The rec center capital fund balance decreased to $256,000. The district spent $5,900 in March. The district received $170,000 in investment income for March. The total collected for the current fiscal year is approximately $365,000 above last year at this time. The district has forecasted funds of true days cash estimated to be 214 days. This is down from February by 8.6 days and below last year by 23 days. Thank you. On the agenda today, you'll see a resolution for our GAP engagement for fiscal year 23. GAP auditors, first of all, school districts are run on a cash basis. So our GAP auditors change our cash to accrual so that our reports could be in line and read by outside entities who run on an accrual basis itself. This would be roughly $1,000 more than in the last 3 years. We had them contracted for a 3-year period, and they kept the the expenditure is the same. They want to remind me, or wanted me to remind you, they had to remind me, that they have come in under their estimates each of the 3 years. So we're hoping here in '23 they will also.
Okay, board communications, Mr. West, if you'd like to start us off.
Just a couple things. I was looking forward to the rugby match on Friday, except that it got rained out. But that's this Thursday, I believe, has been rescheduled for. And as I'm told by one of our rugby players, it's Medina against Highlands, and they're two nationally ranked club teams. Pretty close together, so that's a big deal. He was explaining to me why it's such a big deal, so I would encourage everybody to go out on Thursday and support our bees. We had a facilities meeting earlier this month. Ryan went over a whole bunch of different things that are going on, some stuff that happened over spring break. They had dividers in the Canavan boys and girls bathrooms, I believe, and some carpet in Fen. We went over some of those summer projects, and I'm thinking we might hear a little bit more about it, but some summer projects, let's see. They got paving going on, roofs going on. I think we've got some of that stuff later this evening. Paving the band lot, I believe, at Waite too. Let's see. One big one, I guess there's a valve at Fen, a water valve at Fen that's going to need to be replaced. It's a big deal because turns out there's some asbestos that has to be abated first before the valve can be replaced because the stem broke off on the valve. So that's kind of a big deal, and it's going to be a bit of a mess. He also talked about the high school track is getting to the point where it's in pretty sorely disrepair and needs to be looked at. And I saw that the new pickleball court has been started over at Root. I drive by it at least twice a day, so that's good. I'm sure the pickleball players and whatnot in the city, and maybe some of our students will get some enjoyment out of that this summer. So, and that's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and don't forget, Ryan, you fixed the elevator at the high school.
I did not fix that. We had it fixed.
We had it fixed, okay. But that's a big thing. I mean, it's a big deal, so thank you. I don't really have a report tonight. I just wanted to really focus my attention on what the staff is doing. Appreciate you, Mr. Sable, and all your staff. You're putting in a lot of time and effort into the, like Mrs. Parker said, it's an exciting time we're going through with the facilities and the redistricting. Appreciate all the time and the effort all your staff is putting in and getting the word out to the community. And looking forward to working through more of this process with you. It is, and I agree with Mrs. Parker. It is an exciting time. Thank you.
I don't have much either myself. I ended up getting sick the last week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. So most of the things that I was going to go to, like curriculum, I was out of. We need the dividers back. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my update.
Okay, well, I'll make up for you guys, so, because I can. This past weekend's musical, Something Rotten, was very enjoyable, and it's, Mr. Douglas, who does all 4 productions, I just don't understand where he gets all the energy to put into this, and the kids were really, really good. Saturday was Strikeout Cancer Tourney for softball, and because of the rain, Coach Tuchek and I'm sure hundreds of volunteers got our turf field ready over here at Duke's. and they got to play 2 games before the rain came a second time, and the field was a little slick. But just a big shout out to her and all her parents and volunteers for doing that. Ellen Nicholson won 2 gold medals in weightlifting, including a world title in Albania. While competing, she broke 3 American records for kids in her age group. I mean, and what she lifted would have been me twice. So I'm not going to mess with Ella. When I see her, I'm going the other way. But that's just simply amazing for this young lady. I participated in the Alice drill last week at Root with Mr. Sutherland's class. Students took this, I want to tell you, very seriously, and Mr. Sutherland did a great job showing and explaining the various scenarios, including popping out the window and the latch so we could exit if we had to go out through the windows. I was hoping we didn't because I wasn't sure I'd make it. Shout out to the students at Fenn who were cleaning up trash about 2 weeks ago when I drove by. I just thought that was really nice. I've been able to see both boys and girls rugby, and that's tough. I wouldn't want to be playing it. And boys and girls lacrosse. Whenever you beat St. Ignatius, it needs to be mentioned, and the JV baseball team on a Saturday beat St. Ignatius recently. Congrats to the former lacrosse coach, Pat O'Brien, for being inducted into the State Hall of Fame for lacrosse. I went to the Waite 5th grade business fair where students developed products or services, named their company, had logos and commercials, and then we got to invest in their companies with paper dollars. National Honor Society induction ceremony is this Wednesday at the high school. I think it starts at 7. Bike night is this Thursday at Canavan, 6 to 8, and next week starts Bike to School week. And then just 2 passings to note. Longtime principal in our system, Wes Florian, passed away. He was the person that opened up Heritage. And then former board member Warren Wheeler, who was instrumental in a passage of a 1990 levy, and then went on to serve on the board, passed away probably a month ago down in North Carolina. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, you mentioned the school cleanup, and I know the high school did an Earth Day cleanup as well around the high school on Friday, so it's great to see our buildings participating in that and taking pride in the buildings and facilities and getting them cleaned up. The curriculum committee met this past week. Joe, I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better, but we did miss you at the meeting. It was really good. Mrs. Cassidy presented on told us about the Portrait to Practice Expo that's going to be coming up at the end of May, and Mrs. McGinty talked about Garfield's trip to Camp New Hop, which was very similar to Mr. Sacco's presentation, except that the Garfield kids got to do a ropes course, and Mrs. McGinty did the ropes course as well, and I hear there's a video, and I would really like to see the video of her on the ropes course. That's just such a great opportunity. It's been several years since our kiddos have been able to go to camp because of COVID, so it's great that they were all able to take advantage of that again this year and put our portrait of a bee into practice. And we had a lot of discussion about that actually at the committee, how curriculum and the portrait of a bee how curriculum is being used to help with the portrait of a bee and get those competencies into the classroom. And it was a very good and helpful discussion at our committee. The other neat thing that I got to do last week was there were some teachers here from Finland that were hoping to start an exchange program, but there were 5 teachers from Finland here last week, and I understand they had a great time, and I think they ended up their trip by going to the musical on Friday, Something's Rotten, but it was very interesting speaking with them about the differences between schools there and the schools here. I know they were very impressed with our facilities here at the high school, and they also teach high school there, but their high school is for students ages 16 to 19, and their high schools seem to be more specialized, so the teachers that were here were really they were teachers of theater, music, and the arts, and that was primarily what their school focused on, kids that were more interested in that, which is why they wanted to go to the musical. But it's interesting that, their school lunches are all paid for. No one has to pay for school lunches there, and they don't have to have levies or anything like that. Everything is paid for, and it's just interesting to see how things there they can focus on educating their kids, not have to worry about some of the things we have to worry about, like financing our schools. So it was very interesting to get that perspective. And I will encourage everyone, as I think Mr. West and some of the others noted, there's a lot of events going on. Strings in the Park, I know, is also coming up, and I encourage our community members to attend any athletic events, arts events, Strings in the Park. Things are wrapping up here very quickly, and we do have very talented students in our district, and it's nice to get out there and see all the things that they are doing. So, thank you.
Could I add one more thing real quick? I'd just like to say, I know my son will be coming home here at the end of the week, and I don't know when your son's coming home, Becky, but a lot of our seniors from last year are going to be coming home from college. And I've talked to quite a few of them, not just my son, but a lot of them, and they're all doing extremely well in school, and I think that's a testament to what Mr. Ross was saying about our staff and our school earlier. They're all very successful, and they're doing well, and that's a really good thing, and we're lucky about that very much. So I think we should just be very lucky. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. West. I know you've mentioned that before, and I do agree with you. My son has mentioned several times how prepared he felt to go to college, and I think he took a biology class this semester, and it seemed like his biology class here at high school was a little bit more challenging than maybe what he has at college. So just has felt very well prepared and knows how to study and time management and all of those skills that they need. So I concur. Okay, if there's nothing else from the board to share, now we have time for public participation. If anyone, I don't think anyone signed up to participate. And if anyone out there want to say anything? Okay, if not, I'm going to waive the reading of the public participation rules, and we'll move on to our action items.
So if it pleases the board, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the March 23rd Treasurer Report. Item 2, supplemental. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following supplemental to the 22-23 permanent appropriations. We have a number of 018 funds, which are your principal funds. I added this ADAM grant. We were just notified today that the ADAM grant needed additional funds to finish out the school year. The ADAM grant is used for drug testing. Chris. And then we also have federal funds, our ARPS or ARP State Activity Supplement, ARP IDEA, and Title 1D. As you can see, the state's taken away some monies from us, but given us some other money. So item number 3, resolution. It's recommended that the Medina School District Board of Education approve the engagement of the Auditor of State Local Government Services, LGS, to compile the annual financial statements of the Medina City School District as of and for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, and issue an accountant's report thereon in accordance with the statements on standards for accounting and review services, SSARS, issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, AICPA.
I'll make a motion to approve treasurer action items G1, G2, and G3.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. West. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
Just one. I noticed the ADAM grant's less than in previous years. So has the cost of drug testing gone down, or is it just how much they're willing to grant us this year?
No,
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, that's not the entire grant amount. That's just an additional amount that they have provided.
Okay.
Mr. Chambers, regarding the compilation agreement there,
Yes.
is that's just a one-year agreement
This
then?
is a one-year agreement. If you recall, our weekly update. This is the last year for our auditor of state for our regular audit. I'm smiling with that because it's still going on. And I wanted to bring in the LGS services here for their final year because we have had a number of issues running in with our fixed assets, which in order to meet their deadline, they basically gave a estimation this year, so I want them to make corrections for the 23 year and meet what our system is now saying.
And just to confirm, the audit that is still going on is for the fiscal year ending 2022.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. There's no other questions or comments from the board. You can call roll when you're ready.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First is donations. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations. I would like to point out the donation of $9,000 to our arts programs for the Medina High School Band, Orchestra, and Choir departments to be split evenly between the departments from the Medina County Arts Foundation. We appreciate their support with our music programs. In addition, the athletic department's receipt of almost $1,800 from Brunswick Rotary Club from their donation through the Hoopla 23 event proceeds to support the boys and girls basketball teams to enhance the student athletic experience. Also, Roots Junior National Honor Society donating $400 for children and families affected by abuse at the Children's Center of Medina County. Personnel, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following recommendations pending completion of all required paperwork per the requirements of our Director of Human Resources. A few here I would like to point out. We do have a new administrative appointment here for district-wide 504 coordinator effective July 1st, 2023. This is a position that we added last school year and we ended up not filling for a couple reasons. First of all, we had a difficult time finding a qualified candidate. Secondly, we shifted our resources in order to provide more administrator support over at Claggett, and we're making some shifts back this upcoming school year. I would like to congratulate Aaron Hart. He is a school psychologist in the district. I want to say he's been with the district for approximately 7 or 8 years. But he has been a school psychologist, and I've worked in several different districts that has really impressed me. And I think he's a young man that really has a future within pupil services, and I have no doubt he'll one day be a pupil services director. And I think he's going to be quite an addition to Mina's department. And he will be a loss as one of our school psychs and hard to replace. In addition to that, we have several retirements on the agenda for both certified and classified. Next month in May, we are going to be recognizing all of our district retirees in a new format this year. And I thought this was a good time to bring this up. I know I did send something out to the board, but we are going to be doing a reception at 5 o'clock before the May board meeting and inviting all of our retirees in to have some sort of dessert, probably cake, I'm guessing, as well as to have an open house with our board members so we can all congratulate them for their years of service, and we'll have a recognition at the top of the board meeting for them so that they don't have to stay for the entire meeting. But we would like to do something a little more personal for them and outreach between the board and our retirees. Number 3, resolution, civil engineer contract for district paving 2023. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve a contract with Environmental Design Group for district paving improvements to include design, bidding, and construction services in the amount of $60,530. And then resolution number 4, district roofing projects. It is recommended that the Board of Education adopt the following resolution for district roofing projects 2023. Roof replacement at Medina High School, sections A, B, and C, and roof replacement over at Ella Canavan, section C. Both of these, the paving as well as the roofing, these are summer projects that occur on an annual basis, and these are important projects for us to rotate to ensure that we keep our roofs as well as our paving in good order. I couldn't tell you, but I'm sure Steve Mishler and maybe Ryan could tell you the amount of square footage miles of roofing and paving that we have across our district, but it's one of those things that if we don't keep up with it, it can really become a disastrous situation in trying to catch up with this type of work. So I thank you, Ryan, and his department for ensuring that these are on a constant rotation. And then the last thing on the agenda, field trips. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340. And this is for the National Championship Debate Tournament, which is June 11th through the 17th. This looks like it might be a good one to chaperone in Phoenix, Arizona, although I think Ms. Pritchard had mentioned last week it could be really hot too. But we want to wish them good luck, assuming approval at the National Championship Debate Tournament.
I'll make a motion to approve action items H 1 through 5.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Pritchard. Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any questions or comments from the board? I just wanted to mention and clarify once again regarding the roofing projects for the community's benefit, because, and Mr. O'Connell, Mr. Sable, you can jump in whenever you like, but they may see Canavan on there and the high school, and we see those often, and that's because we don't replace the entire roof for the building all at once. There's different sections that get replaced at different times. If either of you would like to elaborate.
Yeah, so
and the high school will be on like almost every single year because it has such a large roof. But go ahead.
Yeah,
Ryan.
we have 500,000 square feet here at the high school roof. So we, like Aaron said, or Mr. Sable said earlier, we do have to stagger those because of the cost of the projects. Ella Canavan, this is the 3rd year in a row that we've done a portion of that roof. So the entire north and west wing will be new within the last 3 years. That leaves only the newest part of the addition of Canavan, and then any of the pitch roof that is shingle roof is left at Ella Canavan. So, but yes, the high school here, and I was waiting for somebody to ask why they're so much less to do the high school roof than Canavan. And Canavan is a total tear off. It has to come down, clear down to the metal. The high school is just going to be a roof. They'll lay down a 1/8-inch sofa board and then shingle or roof over top of that. So it's 2 totally different types of roofs is why the cost difference.
And then how long do these areas what is useful life then, I guess, for these repairs on these areas?
So the high school roof, we're doing a 20-year roof, and then the Ella Canavan will be a 30-year. And that's based on the amount of insulation. We did a 20-year here at the high school because we're not adding as much insulation. So they'll only warrant it for 20 years.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate taking care of those things for us now so we don't have major repairs later. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Chambers?
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask for a motion to move to executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, or compensation of a public employee or official, for a discussion with the board's legal counsel of disputes involving the board that are subject of pending or imminent court action, and preparation for conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment.
Second.
I'll make the motion to move to executive session for what Ms. Parker said.
Thank you, Mr. West, and thank you,
Second.
Mr. Ross, for seconding. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
We will not be taking any action when we return from executive session. I would like to thank everyone for attending this evening, and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.